I wasn't supposed to come to the wedding. That's what Sarah thought. Anyway, that's what everyone thought. Her friends, her family, probably even Jake, our son, standing there at the altar in his pressed navy suit, trying not to glance toward the empty seat in the front row. The seat with my name on it that I'd told them, politely, regretfully, I wouldn't be filling. But I came. Of course I came. I stood in the back of the church, partially hidden by a marble column, watching her fuss with Jake's boutonniere. She wore cream, not white. She'd never wear white to someone else's wedding. Too much taste for that. With her hair swept up the way I used to love. 46 years old and still turning heads. Still beautiful. Still capable of making my chest tighten with something that might have been love 2 years ago but had curdled into something else entirely. She didn't see me. Not yet. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't happen once. It happens over and over, in memory, in dreams, in moments like this when you catch the scent of her perfume across a crowded room and your body remembers before your mind can stop it. It's been 2 years since I found out. 2 years since I walked out of our craftsman-style house in the suburbs of Portland with nothing but a duffel bag and a phone full of evidence I'd never show anyone. 2 years of sleeping in a studio apartment above a Thai restaurant, of learning how to be alone, of building a new life from the scattered pieces of the old one. 2 years, and I still hadn't told our son why I left. The wedding march started. I watched Jake's face transform when he saw Emma coming down the aisle, and something in my chest cracked. He had my jawline but Sarah's eyes, those hazel eyes that could convince you of anything. I taught him to throw a football, to change a tire, to measure twice and cut once. But I'd never taught him how to spot a liar. Maybe that was my fault too. The ceremony was beautiful. They always are. When the pastor asked if anyone objected, I felt Sarah's shoulders tense even though she still didn't know I was there. Some part of her sensed me, maybe. After 23 years of marriage, you develop that kind of radar. I stayed quiet. This wasn't about objecting. This was about something else entirely. The reception was at the Abernethy Event Center. All exposed brick and Edison bulbs and the kind of rustic chic aesthetic that costs a fortune to look casual. I'd helped pay for it, actually. Sent Jake the check anonymously through my lawyer. Let him think it came from my life insurance or something. I wasn't going to let my son's wedding suffer because his mother destroyed our family. I waited until dinner was served, until everyone had champagne, until Sarah had given her mother of the groom speech that had everyone dabbing their eyes. She was good at that, performing emotion, making people believe in the story she wanted them to see. She talked about love and commitment and building a life with someone. She talked about weathering storms together. I almost laughed. Then I stepped out of the shadows. I saw her see me, watched her face drain of color, watched her hand freeze halfway to her wine glass. Our eyes locked across the reception hall, and for a moment, the noise of the celebration faded into white static. Jake noticed. "Dad." The word cut through the room like a gunshot. Heads turned. Conversations stopped. Emma grabbed Jake's hand, confused, because of course she was confused. I'd RSVP'd my regrets, sent my love, made my excuses about a work obligation in Seattle I couldn't get out of. I was a software architect, had been for 15 years. It was easy to invent emergencies, to hide behind the excuse of being essential. "Jake," I said, crossing the floor toward him. My voice was steady. I practiced this. "I'm sorry I'm late. There's something I need to give you." Sarah stood up. "Tom, don't what?" I looked at her for the first time in 2 years. Really looked at her. "Don't show up to my son's wedding? Don't celebrate this incredible moment with him? You said you weren't coming." Her voice was tight. "I changed my mind." Jake looked between us, that crease forming between his eyebrows that he got when he was trying to solve a problem. He'd had it since he was 6. "Dad, what's going on?" "Nothing's going on," I said. "I just wanted to give you your wedding present in person." I pulled the envelope from my jacket pocket. It was cream-colored, expensive paper, the kind Sarah would have picked out herself once upon a time. I'd been carrying it for 3 weeks, waiting for this moment. "What is it?" Jake asked. "Open it," I said. He did. I watched his face as he read, watched the confusion turn to shock, turn to something I couldn't quite name. Emma was reading over his shoulder, her hand flying to her mouth. Sarah started toward us. "Tom, you bastard. It's not what you think," I said calmly. "Read it, Jake." Out loud. Jake's voice was shaky. It's the deed to the house on Cascade Lake. The lake house. Our lake house, or what used to be ours before the divorce that never quite happened because I'd left without filing papers, without lawyers, without any of the official dissolution of a marriage. I just left, disappeared into my own life while Sarah stayed in our house, told everyone I was going through something, that we were separated but working on it. We weren't working on anything. "I'm signing it over to you and Emma," I said. "Wedding present. It's paid off, property taxes are current. It's yours." Jake stared at me. "Dad, I don't—" "Why?" "Because you love that place," I said simply. "Because you and Emma should have somewhere to build memories. Because it's what I wanted to give you, what I didn't say. Because your mother and I built that house together when you were 10, and every memory in it is now poisoned. Because I can't stand to own something that reminds me of when I still believed in us. Because giving it away is the only way I can let it go without burning it down." "Tom." Sarah's voice was a warning now. She'd reached our circle, was standing close enough that I could smell her perfume. Chanel No. 5, same as always. "Can we talk? Privately?" "No," I said. "I don't think we can. Please." The desperation in her voice almost got me. Almost. But I'd spent 2 years building walls against that exact tone, that exact plea. I'd heard it before, in my mind, imagining all the conversations we'd never had. I wasn't going to let her tear down those walls now. "Congratulations, Jake," I said, turning back to my son. "Emma, welcome to the family, such as it is." I started to walk away. "Wait." Jake's hand caught my arm. "Dad, I don't understand. You've been gone for 2 years. You barely call. You miss Christmas, Thanksgiving, my graduation from grad school. And now you show up here and give me the lake house? What the hell is going on?" This was the moment. The moment I'd been simultaneously dreading and anticipating for 24 months. The moment where I could finally tell the truth, could finally make someone else carry the weight I'd been shouldering alone. But when I looked at Jake's face, his happy day, his wedding day, his one perfect day that I'd already disrupted just by showing up, I couldn't do it. "Nothing's going on," I said. "I'm just trying to do the right thing." "The right thing would have been being a father," Jake said, and the anger in his voice was new. He'd always been a gentle kid, slow to fury. "The right thing would have been being here." "You're right," I said. "You're absolutely right." I looked over his shoulder at Sarah. She was crying now, mascara starting to run, and I felt nothing. That was the strangest part. 2 years ago, seeing her cry would have destroyed me. Now it was just water on a face. "I should go," I said. "Tom," Sarah started. "Enjoy your evening," I said to Jake and Emma. "Enjoy the lake house. Build something beautiful there. Build something that lasts." I made it halfway to the door before Jake called out again. "Is this about Mom?" I stopped. The room had gone completely silent now. 100 wedding guests holding their breath, sensing drama, hungry for it the way people always are at weddings after enough champagne. "Is what about Mom?" I asked without turning around. "Whatever's been eating you for 2 years, whatever made you leave, is it about her?" Could have lied. Should have lied. But standing there in that converted warehouse with Edison bulbs casting shadows like hanging men, with the ghost of my marriage breathing down my neck, I found I was tired of lying. "Yes," I said simply. "What did she do?" Now I did turn around. Looked at my son, 25 years old and asking the question I'd been waiting for him to ask. Looked at Sarah, frozen like a deer in headlights, probably calculating how much truth I was about to tell. "Ask her," I said. Then I left. I didn't go back to my apartment. Instead, I drove. Took I-84 east along the Columbia River Gorge, windows down, letting the late spring air whip through the car. It was almost midnight by the time I reached the lake house. Jake's lake house now, legally, the papers already filed with the county clerk that morning. I still had my key. The house was dark, exactly as I'd left it 2 months ago when I'd come to pack up my things. 2 bedrooms, wraparound deck, boat dock extending into water so clear you could see the trout swimming 10 feet down. Sarah and I had designed it together, had fought about every detail, the placement of windows, the stain color for the deck, whether to put in a gas fireplace or stick with wood burning. We'd compromised on everything. That's what marriage was supposed to be. Compromise. What a joke. I let myself in and stood in the living room, breathing in the smell of cedar and old books and the faint mustiness that comes with a place that sits empty most of the year. The furniture was still here. The leather couch we'd bought in Seattle, the coffee table I'd built from reclaimed barn wood, the photographs on the walls of Jake at various ages, fishing and swimming and grinning gap-toothed at the camera. No photographs of Sarah and me. I'd taken those down months ago. I poured myself a whiskey from the bottle I'd left in the kitchen and sat on the deck, watching moonlight dance on the water. This was where I'd been when I found out. This exact spot. 2 years ago, almost to the day, late May, sitting in this same chair with my laptop open, checking my work email before a long weekend. That's when I'd seen it. Not in my email. In hers. She'd left her laptop open on the kitchen counter that morning. I'd gone to close it, just being helpful, conserving battery, the kind of mindless gesture you make after 2 decades together. And there it was. An email tab still open. A message from someone named David. Can't wait to see you tonight. Tell Tom the conference is running late. I'd stared at that message for a full minute before my brain could process what I was reading. Then I'd clicked. Gone through her inbox. Found 6 months of messages. 6 months of plans and lies and excuses. 6 months of her telling me she loved me while planning hotel room rendezvous with a man whose name I'd never heard. David Morrison. I'd looked him up, of course. Tracked him down on LinkedIn within 15 minutes. Sales director at her company. Divorced, 2 kids. Ran marathons. Drove a Tesla. Had a jawline like a movie star and a smile that probably made middle-aged women weak in the knees. I'd read every email twice. Then I'd packed a bag and left. I never told her I knew. Never confronted her. Never gave her the chance to explain or apologize or gaslight me into thinking I'd misunderstood what I'd seen. I just left. Sent her a text from the road. Need some time. Don't wait up. Then I'd found an apartment, hired a lawyer to handle the financial separation, and disappeared into my own life. For 2 years, she'd been calling, texting, leaving voicemails that started angry and evolved into desperate. She told Jake we were going through something. Told her friends I was having a midlife crisis. Never mentioned David. Never mentioned the affair. Maybe it was over by then. Maybe he'd moved on. Maybe she'd ended it when I left and she realized she might actually lose something. I didn't know. Didn't care. What I cared about was sitting here in the house we'd built together, drinking whiskey and watching the water and feeling the particular satisfaction of giving it all away to someone who might actually be happy here. My phone buzzed. Sarah. We need to talk. I deleted the message without responding. It buzzed again 5 minutes later. Please. I know you're at the lake house. Of course she knew. She'd always been able to read me, even when I thought I was being inscrutable. It was one of the things I'd loved about her once. Go home, I typed back. Go back to the reception. It's your son's wedding. Our son. Is it? I regretted sending that the moment I hit send. It was petty, cruel, the kind of thing you couldn't take back. But it was also 2 years of silence finally finding voice. 2 years of questions I'd never asked out loud. She didn't respond. I finished my whiskey and poured another. 20 minutes later, I heard a car in the driveway. She looked different in the moonlight, standing on the deck in her cream dress with her heels in one hand and her hair coming loose from its pins. Older, maybe, or maybe just more real than the memory I'd been carrying around. You shouldn't have come, I said. You shouldn't have left. She set her heels down carefully, like they were made of crystal. Not like that. Not without talking to me. What was there to talk about? Everything, Tom. Everything. I laughed. A bitter sound that startled a fish in the water below. Yeah? You want to talk about David? About the 6 months you spent fucking someone else while I thought we were happy? About the conference that ran late that was actually a hotel room in Seattle? She flinched. Good. How long have you known? She asked quietly. 2 years. Since the day I left. And you never said anything. What was I supposed to say, Sarah? Congratulations? Thanks for the memories? Better luck next marriage? She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the warm night. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. I stood up, moved to the railing, put distance between us. Explain how the woman I loved, the woman I built a life with, decided I wasn't enough. Explain how you looked me in the eye every morning and lied. It wasn't about you, she said. It was never about you. Bullshit. Tom, do you know how many times I've replayed every conversation we had in those 6 months? The words were tumbling out now, 2 years of silence breaking like a dam. How many times I've wondered what I missed, what signs I was too stupid or too trusting to see. You didn't miss anything, she said. I was careful. The honesty of that statement hit me like a fist. You were careful. You were careful. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No. She moved closer, cautious, like approaching a wounded animal. Nothing I say is going to make you feel better. But if you just let me explain. I don't want your explanations. My voice bounced off the water. Too loud, too raw. I don't want to hear about how lonely you were or how I worked too much or how David made you feel alive again. I don't want your justifications. Then what do you want? I want to not care anymore. I turned to face her fully. I want to look at you and feel nothing. I want to be over this. Over you. But I'm not. And showing up at that wedding, seeing you play the happy mother, the perfect family woman, knowing what you did, knowing what you are, I realized I'll never be over it. She was crying now, really crying. Not the elegant tears from the reception, but ugly, shoulder-shaking sobs. Some distant part of me remembered when those tears would have destroyed me, when I would have done anything to make them stop. That part was dead now. I loved you, she said through tears. I still love you. Don't, I said. Don't you dare. It's true. What happened with David? It was a mistake. It was 6 months, Sarah. 6 months of mistakes? 6 months of accidentally falling into bed with another man? Of lying to my face? Of making me feel crazy for thinking something was wrong when you stayed late at work or took weekend business trips? She didn't answer. That's what I thought, I said. I walked past her toward the door. She grabbed my arm. Where are you going? Away from you. Tom, please. We can fix this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you need. It's been 2 years. We can start over. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then up at her face. In the moonlight, she looked young again. Looked like the girl I'd married 23 years ago in a church not unlike the one where our son had gotten married today. That girl had promised to love me, honor me, stay faithful to me. That girl had seemed incapable of betrayal. But that girl had never really existed. There is no starting over, but I need you to know something. His voice was steadier now. I'm not choosing sides. You're both my parents. I love you both. But what you did, leaving without explaining, disappearing for 2 years, that hurt me too. You weren't just her husband. You were my father. And you left me in the dark. He was right. Of course he was right. I'm sorry, I said. Me too, he said. For all of it. He hung up. I sat there for a long time, holding my phone, watching the city move below me. Somewhere out there, Sarah was probably doing the same thing. Sitting alone, wondering how we'd gotten here, how two people who'd loved each other enough to build a life had ended up so broken. The truth was, I'd never know. Maybe she'd been unhappy for years. Maybe David had offered her something I couldn't. Maybe it was as simple as opportunity and weakness colliding at the wrong moment. Maybe it was all of those things or none of them. It didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that I'd survived it. 2 years of sleeping alone, eating alone, being alone. 2 years of building a new life from nothing. 2 years of learning that you could lose everything and still wake up the next morning. I'd given away the lake house because I couldn't bear to keep it. But also because I wanted Jake to have something untainted by what Sarah and I had done to each other. I wanted him to take Emma there and make new memories, build new traditions, Prove that marriage could be something other than a slow disintegration. I wanted him to believe in love even though I couldn't anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Emma. Thank you for the house. Thank you for coming. And for what it's worth, I think you're incredibly brave. I stared at that message for a long time. Brave. Was that what I was? Brave felt like the wrong word. Broken felt closer. Surviving felt most accurate. But maybe surviving was its own kind of brave. I typed back, build something beautiful there. That's all I ask. She responded immediately, we will. Promise. I believed her. Or at least I wanted to. Because if Jake and Emma could build something beautiful, maybe that meant the world wasn't completely broken. Maybe it meant that love could still work for some people, even if it hadn't worked for me. I finished my coffee and opened my laptop. Work was waiting. Code to write, problems to solve, deadlines to meet. The regular rhythm of a life that moved forward whether I wanted it to or not. Outside, the city hummed with possibility. People falling in love, falling out of love, making mistakes, seeking forgiveness, starting over. The endless cycle of hope and heartbreak that defined being human. I wasn't part of that cycle anymore. I'd stepped off it 2 years ago when I'd walked out of a lake house with a duffel bag and a phone full of evidence. I'd chosen isolation over confrontation, silence over resolution. Maybe that made me a coward. Maybe it made me wise. Maybe it just made me someone who'd loved deeply enough to know when that love was dead. The sun climbed higher, burning off the morning fog. My phone stayed silent. The apartment stayed empty. And somewhere in Portland, my son was starting his married life while his mother dealt with the consequences of choices she'd made years ago. I didn't forgive her. I never would. But I was finally starting to forgive myself for not being able to.